You're listening to Be Still and Grow, the GCC Ladies Podcast with Catherine,
Heather, and Nicole, where we dive into deep theological topics and real-life issues through the art of conversation.
So take a seat at the table with us.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Be Still and Grow podcast. Hello, y'all.
Well,
Well, hello.
It's pouring,
It
just
is
in
pouring.
case you can hear it.
Yes, so we're not sending some soothing sounds to you, so don't go to sleep. I mean, if this helpful, I don't know if this helpful listening. I doubt listening to me makes you go to sleep. It might. I don't know, but I don't think I got that smooth voice. Be like, go to sleep.
Nope.
I didn't try that hard, but I do feel like I have a good voice for, like, I did think for a second on the last podcast when I was like, two podcasts ago, the hot summer jams. I did like how I said all that. I was like, I could do that.
Radio DJ in the making.
Whoop, whoop. Well, I'm going to get into it, guys. Stop the ruckus. We gotta talk about this. We have guests.
Yeah,
Emphasis
we
on
do.
the we have guests on the podcast today. We have some good ones.
Yes, we do.
We have Kellen and Kaycee Owens.
We need a button. I know.
We do. I know. We keep saying this, y'all. We got to make it happen. 52 episodes in, we need a button, dadgummit. I know you heard, you're like, ooh, they have the same last name. That means they're married. Surprise, they're not. They're actually third cousins. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Surprise. I didn't see that coming. No, they are married. But thank y'all so much for coming on the podcast. We're super pumped to have you guys on. So Kellen's first time, Kaycee's second time. It's been a hot minute, but I don't think there's no video. But we had her remote back in the day, and so we had a whole situation with a fire. Everybody was fine, but we had to move locations, and so she was a trooper on all that one. So
yeah, this is a much nicer setup.
it is.
Please don't burn this house down.
Yes, we need it. So, but thank y'all so much for coming on.
Sure.
So as we like to say with all married couples, how y'all meet, and also in the same way, can y'all tell us a little bit about each other?
Sure. Yeah, I'll jump in. Again, my name's Kellen Owens, and Kaycee and I met when we were very young. We went to church together. So her family, her dad's was a youth pastor, and so how old were you when y'all moved from Alabama?
5.
When she's 5, his dad accepts the call to come be the youth pastor at the church that me and my family have been going to here in Fayetteville. And so we met a long time ago and grew up together. Our families grew up together, church, youth group, college.
And what Kellen's not mentioning is that I had the biggest crush on him from very young, and he knew it and liked to torment me and
That's right.
for years. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was like a silly crush, you know, because he was older than me.
We're talking like she like freeze up and not be able to talk and stuff, and so it was very easy to make her blush. And I just leaned into it, you know,
yeah,
and would just kind of wreck her conversations with other people, and so
It's gonna be like, hey, Kaycee, how you doing?
Yeah.
Do the hair swoop thing?
no. This was back then, early 2000, late 90s when,
Late 90s,
and I
yeah.
would have had all the guys had to have gel in their hair, and it had to be pushed forward and spiked up in the front.
So there was no.
So you don't touch
There's
it.
no s-
Yeah.
If someone
Never
touched
swift.
your hair, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm not touching
It's
it.
a federal crime,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Don't touch my hair.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got married in 2007. I finally won his heart. We were friends first, and that's so sweet because we've been friends for so long. We've shared our story together for so long. And then we got married, and now we have 4 kids. And we've been married for, is it 17 years?
17 years.
This
Wow.
August. Yeah, actually, just a few weeks here. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And I stay home with the kids. I homeschool, and I work part-time at the school that Kellen works at. Did you want to say what?
Yeah,
you
sure.
did?
As a job, I run a small private school in Peachtree City called The Campus. So family deal. Kaycee's there. We still lean on her a lot when she can come in.
Yeah. And then together we have a small homestead with chickens, and we've got a dairy cow, and pigs and a garden. So we've got a very full, beautiful life. Yeah.
Well, leading into that, I thought it would be super fun to play a game
All right.
on a game show. What do you think? If you had to take a guess, what game do you think it would be? Just knowing off of what they just said.
Newlywed show.
Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Hey!
Oh.
Good
Oh,
job. Yes.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm in 3rd grade. Well, 4th grade now. So whatever my oldest child is grades, that's what the grade I say
Oh.
I'm in. So I am not
Yeah.
in 5th
Yeah.
grade
I
yet.
was about to say, I
There's
thought
your
you
get
were.
out of jail free card.
I thought you were saying that's how you are at, and I was like, girl, I'm in 1st grade. So you're good. You're 2 grades ahead of me. But that would actually been a good game too. The Newlyweds. I didn't think about that. But yes, I thought school people, are you smarter than a 5th grader? But Catherine edition, meaning
All right.
Oh boy.
there will be legit questions, but I thought it'd be fun to mix in some GCC trivia at the same time. So
Oh, now did you Google
Disadvantage.
these?
the GCC trivia?
No.
No. Oh no, they're Googled. I did not come up with these questions. No, they're too smart. No. So I'm going to do a mixture of both. So you'll get a "Are you smarter than 5th grader?" question, and so audience, you can also chime in. We can't hear you, but you can think about it, and then back and forth, kind of like both on the GCC. So I figured probably if you have the answer, just raise your hand, and whoever has it first, I'll call upon that person.
Oh, are we playing too?
Yeah, you're playing.
Oh shoot!
I'm not doing it then.
You're
I'm
playing.
playing.
Yeah, not
So-
just us.
I thought just
I like how
spotlight was
you've
on that.
structured
wow.
this so that you don't have to play.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I did think about that when I started reading. I was like, "Oh, you're reading the answers," and I'm like, "You're not playing." I was like, "Ooh, no, I would never get any of these right." No, yeah, because someone has to ask them. So, because no matter what, even if I like divided them out, I still am seeing all the answers. So there's no way to do it. Alrighty, I don't know how they start. I was like trying to think of. I should have watched. Dang it, I should have watched it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I've seen it, but it's been a long time. Just Jeff Foxworthy, host. We used to host it, and so. But I was trying to think like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It's like, do.
Yeah.
But I was
Turn
trying to
the
like,
lights down.
what is, what
Where's
do they
the,
do?
Where
I
the
don't know.
remote to the lights?
Yeah, yeah. But it's like it's not Jeff Foxworthy, but like, here's your sign. All right, but that's not it. All right, y'all ready?
Ready.
Let's go.
It's gonna be exciting. Who's gonna do it? All right. No lie, I already think Kellen's gonna win everything. Just throwing that out there. So I'm not a betting person, but I feel like, but if not, we
Then
need to
it's
think
Nicole.
yeah, that is true. That is true.
But no faith in me.
Yeah, oh, I didn't even. Well, no, generally yes. He's a headmaster. I was like, I feel like he should know things.
Yeah.
So.
I'm saying I put no faith in me.
Oh, I thought you said I put no faith in you. I'm sorry.
Oh.
We actually don't have a class at the school about GCC history. So
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like these are
our
very
4 years of experience
yeah.
here right now.
Some of them, I don't feel like they're hard. I feel like I made them very, very simple in a way that if you listen on a Sunday, you should figure it out, or we all know these people, and so we should know these things. So I feel like in my mind they're pretty simple. So probably too simple for you, but I feel like I feel like you're really gonna get them quickly. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Number 1. This is a "Are you smarter than 5th grader?" question. According to the U.S. Constitution, the president is part of which of the 3 branches of government? It was Kellen.
Executive.
I feel like you would have got that too. Was that what your answer? Okay.
Yep, I was gonna get it right too.
Oh, dang. All right, 1 point for Kellen. Alrighty. GCC trivia question. What band is Pastor Kirk most fond of and mentions from time to time in his sermons? Oh, you kidding me? This is shocking.
Can you give more clues? That's a good
I mean,
question.
it is could not be more obvious. It is Kirk's
When was
favorite
the last
band.
time he talked about the band?
Probably the 383. But it's his favorite band of all time. He loves this band. He has a dog named after
Oh,
the
the
song.
Beatles.
Thank you.
Dang, I'm seriously like,
I'm
he
sorry,
was in a
Kirk.
band. What is the
Oh.
name of this band?
No, what
I
he
know, I
a
thought it
band
was
that
the
he's
one that he
fond
was
of.
the drummer for.
My bad. I didn't understand the question.
Shocking.
I got it right.
That's
Good
the
job.
question.
Good job, Nicole.
Good question.
He's a big fan of the Beatles. He's mentioned them in multiple sermons. He loves the Beatles.
I can't
I
name
probably
one
don't
sermon
know
he's
that.
talked
I
about the
probably don't
Beatles
catch
in.
the reference.
You know, Beatles. I think of all people, his
The
dog is
sermon-
named after. All of his dogs have been
They
named
are.
after Beatles.
That is correct.
Yeah,
I think the sermon part threw me
yeah.
because I'm like, casting crowns. I
Well,
don't know. What is he talking about?
We'll
I
cut
don't
this,
know.
We'll cut this out, Pastor Kirk. We apologize. We know you better. Alrighty. Number 2. What is the capital of Russia?
Oh, I'm going to be wrong now. I'm going to say Moscow.
That's
Oh,
correct.
Okay.
Dang.
Like,
all
I'm too confident.
Geometry.
All right. we're going to throw another Are You Smart as fifth grader question at you. What is the process of water turning into vapor called?
Evaporation.
Sure. All right.
good.
I was like,
That's good.
steam.
It's not fast enough. I'm like,
There.
I'm thinking these things in slow motion.
All righty. Here's a GCC question. Maybe I need to make them.
Now I'm
I
scared.
need to be more specific. I feel like these are so. In my mind, I thought it was simple. All right.
You've been
How about
here
this?
since
How-
the onset.
Yeah. Well, these are recent. He has said this. Kirk is gonna be ashamed
Anyway,
of
you're,
y'all.
you're doing a great job.
Okay.
You're doing a great job.
All right. What? I'll add extra. What man in our church, from time to time, from the stage, will say this? The sauce is life. That's Kellen.
George.
There you go.
My husband.
All right. What is the tallest mammal on Earth? Kellen.
Got to be a giraffe, right?
You got it.
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
I was like, that's
this
too
is gonna be a
easy.
trick
Yeah,
question.
I
this is
know.
too
I'm
easy.
thinking about it too much.
Alrighty. What is the capital of Australia? That was Nicole.
Sydney,
Ooh.
Melbourne. My bad.
No. Nope. You were second.
S.
S.
I meant
Could you
A.
name
I
a
said
third
Sydney.
city in Australia?
Where is Pete and Maddie?
He's next. They're next to Melbourne, I think, or Sydney or something. They're not. Well, no, they're about a couple
Kingston?
hours. No.
Ki-
I'll be helpful. It starts with a C.
Sorry, Pete.
That made it worse.
I know. I really felt like y'all were gonna be nailing these things. I'm probably gonna pronounce it wrong, but Canberra.
Oh, no.
Nope.
I would
Nope.
never know.
0% chance.
No clue.
What is the hardest mineral?
Artist.
Mineral.
Flat.
Nope. Nope.
Copper?
No. Then
Zinc.
Nope.
bedrock.
You're kind of in the same field, but no. I think you're in the same field. I've heard this mentioned with that.
Iron.
Yeah. Y'all are really shocking me. I really thought y'all were gonna be like, this was a waste of time.
It's diamonds.
Yep, diamond. There we go.
Oh, is
Come
that-
on, y'all
is that a
should-
mineral?
Is that a
Yep.
mineral?
According to Google.
It's not on
It's
a
not-
periodic
it's
table.
not on the periodic
Yeah, that's
table.
what I'm thinking.
Oh.
Cobalt.
Yeah.
Basalt. Whatever.
Remember, Catherine is the one who found these things.
Oh, so this is
Take 'em
also
with a grain of
Catherine's
salt.
fact.
Technically,
Got it.
one person is only going to get this, but I want to mention this for GCC because I will die on this hill for the rest of my life. Just saying. Because I believe this firmly. What man in our church resembles a famous current NASCAR driver, Kyle Larson?
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh wait, no. Shoot. I thought you were.
I
Gonna
believe
say,
in you, Heather. I believe
Okay.
in you.
I'm gonna go with John Dalton because I thought you were gonna say Nate Bargatze.
No,
Oh.
that was too easy.
That's a good
No.
one.
Okay.
That was too easy.
I probably am the only one that knows that it's
Yes.
Nate Lawrence.
Nate
And it is true.
Lawrence.
It is 100%
Yes,
true.
there's a
Wow.
race car driver named Kyle Larson who, there's so many times I look at Nate, I'm like, please be Kyle. I wish he would be Kyle. I'm a huge NASCAR fan.
I mean,
But
we love
he
you, Nate.
literally talks, acts like him. They look the same height. Like, it
No
is
way. We've
wild.
got a lot of
I'll show you a picture
doppelgangers.
after podcast. It is insane. Insane. We might post it. I was kidding. He won't like that. Alrighty. Right at the end here. This one should be, I feel like we should all get this one, guys. Who invented the light bulb? Kellen.
Edison.
There we go. Okay. I was like, if y'all don't get that one, my gosh. How much is 14 times 5? Y'all do math really fast? Ooh.
Helen
70.
can.
Hey, they're all righty.
He was also a math teacher. So.
Oh, there we go. Good. All right. This is a fun one. What is the plural form of the word deer?
Ooh.
Heather.
Dear.
Ow.
Thank you. I finally got
You know, it's an interesting cul-de-sac. What's the plural of a cul-de-sac?
cul-de-sac.
Gilmore Girls.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Another
I would not
Gilmore
got
Girls
that. Oh, man.
reference.
That's a great show. I love that show. Some people should watch it.
Yeah. I think so.
This should be something we should all get. I feel like in our church. So, what do we consider one of the lifebloods of our church? Boom.
Community as a whole. It's our middle name, as Erica says.
Yes. Alrighty.
Middle.
All right. Last two questions and we're done, y'all. Which continent is the least populated?
Australia.
Ooh, no.
Oh, wait.
Antarctica.
Australia. Sorry, Pete.
You're forgetting about all the penguins, though.
Yeah.
Yes. Antarctica. Alrighty, and the very last question is a GCC question. What really great thing that our church despises? Nope.
So many people in our
That is
church
true.
hate
So it's
sweet tea.
literally about 4 of us. A really great thing that our church despises.
Mhm. Talked about a lot. Been brought up in multiple sermons as well. Devil. I was gonna
Has
find it.
something to do with tortilla chips?
No, that is
Yeah.
that does get brought up a lot.
Kroger,
Mainly by the
yeah.
patents.
Yeah, I was
They're all about
confused.
some tortillas.
I
Okay.
feel like the real question is something Catherine loves
That.
that GCC doesn't.
Okay.
She's good. Bingo.
NASCAR.
No, I'm
I
turning
mean,
I
people
don't think
around.
we
I've
disguise.
been
I
turning
don't
people
think we
around like
disguise
crazy.
NASCAR.
No, you're probably not gonna get it.
Mm.
Or do you want to try?
It seems a little subjective.
Is there more?
maybe.
Potlucks.
A hint here?
Oh, they better not despise.
I love
potlucks.
potlucks.
I
so
love
I
a
hope that's
potluck.
not true.
Do you have a hint?
It's a. I hope y'all taking notes, GCC. It's like, yeah, she's basically hitting on it. Not those two things, but what do you need for those things?
Kitchens.
No.
Money.
I don't.
We despise
I don't
it.
think
That
y'all gonna get
fellowship
it.
hall.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get it, but
Casseroles.
no, I mean you're skidding across it for sure. It's food.
Huh.
The answer is food.
Well, not
GCC
food.
despises
particular
No,
food?
a particular
Oh,
particular
okay.
food.
I'm like, that's
Southern
not
food.
true. Is it
Yeah,
Mexican food?
No, I feel it. Wow.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well done steaks.
Oh,
Ah.
MG.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Just
should
want to
Yeah.
throw that in there.
That-
The
we
people who are
should've gotten
listening.
Should have known.
Sorry. Kirk has mentioned it multiple times, and he says it very sternly, and I don't appreciate it, and I know who he's talking to.
You like a well done
I
steak?
do like.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be well done. I believe if you are a good cook, you can make a very well done steaks. I have had really great well done steaks. There are people in the church that back me up on this. We have a group started. We meet in the back alley on Thursday nights. It's a support group just for this occasion. But I'm a big fan of that. But a lot of people in our church do not like well done steaks. They believe there is no such
Rightfully
thing
so.
as a well done steak. And so, even though it is biblical, so he did say it, when the man asked Jesus, how do you like your steak? And he was like, well done, good and faithful servant. Well done. Sorry.
Mm.
I feel like that's borderline blasphemy. We should address it.
No, I did say that to Kirk one time, so he gave me a chuckle. So he was like, haha. That's it. That's all. Great job. I think it was a clear winner. Well, I don't know. I didn't count, but I feel like it was definitely between Nicole and Kellen for sure. So
It's like, whose
I
line
got
is it
one.
anyway?
yeah.
The points don't really matter.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. We'll have to go back and watch who won. I don't know who won, but it was a dead heat between
We'll give it
you
to
two.
Kellen because he's the guest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aw.
No, we will go back and figure it out. It's like I'll let you
Nicole
choose the
said,
winner.
no, we
No,
won't.
I'm a fan. I
Yeah.
support that decision. I stopped raising my hand at the end because I was like, ooh,
No.
a lot of attention.
You were doing so good. But thank you all for playing. Are you smarter than the fifth grader? GCC
Catherine edition.
Captain Edition with GCC questions. So
Are you smarter than a lead deacon?
ooh,
We could play that at a
Ooh.
place.
There you go.
That's a
Smarter
good
than a lead-
icebreaker. You might have started something here.
That's what I do. That's what I do. But I think it was funny. I knew you were gonna get about the sauce thing, but it's funny that he got that. So
It made me
Look at that.
laugh. I didn't
Yeah.
think, raise your hand. I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh."
Oh yeah. I'm still more shocked about the Beatles thing. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself on that one. Just saying. He talks about it a
Sorry.
lot. He's a big fan. Sorry, Kirk. I
It's
got
the
you.
sermon question.
What?
It was just the sermon edition that threw me off.
Oh, sorry. My bad, guys. All right, let's get into it. Why are we here, Nicole?
Well, we're here today with the Owens to talk about what is shepherding a child. I'm very excited for this topic as I need to learn more about these things and care more about them than I have. So what does that mean? What does it look like to be faithful parents? What does it look like to raise your children up in the gospel and to trust your kids to make wise decisions? Those are scary things, I'm sure, that many parents can relate to, especially in the church and all different phases of of parenthood, where you go from having young kids to teenagers. So we are really glad that y'all are here.
When we were talking about this subject, I feel like y'all immediately came into our mind, and so I feel like y'all exemplify that well. And so, especially from us seeing y'all at the church, I think y'all do a beautiful job at that. And I know y'all have a passion for that, and y'all care about children, and so we definitely want to hear people who care about children. So, so
Step one.
yeah, step one. If you don't like children, what are we doing? So yes, before going into it, like I said, I know y'all have a passion for it. So like, as children, just something that's always been a passion for you guys that we want to have. Because some people they're like we don't care if we have kids or not, or we don't want them. Like, is that something that even in the beginning of your marriage, like, no, we want a family, and like we want to set standards, and we want to do it whether in a biblical way or all that kind of stuff, but just kind of like, did y'all have those conversations like, hey, this is the kind of the path that we feel like God is taking us in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, we both come from big families, so early on in our relationship, we talked about kids, and we knew we wanted kids, and we knew that would be more than one or two. We knew early on that we wanted to adopt, and started our first adoption before our first biological child was born. And so that was always the plan as well. It wasn't like, second option for us as a family. When you talk about and then wanting to lead them in godliness, or I don't remember how you said that. That's always the hope, right? Us as Christians, that we hope that we're can be faithful in all our areas of life. So absolutely, that's the hope and goal, to be faithful to the Lord in our parenting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to be a mom since I was little, since I was being mothered. I just have always loved childhood, and when we didn't have kids, we were really close with our nieces and nephews. I mean, we're still close with our nieces and nephews, but we just really treasured being uncles and aunts. And I think there's something just so magical about children that, yeah, I love being around them, and I love seeing the world through their eyes. And I couldn't wait to be a mother, and I wanted a table full of just children. And I love that we have that, and it's continuing to grow, and that none of us really match, and it's messy and beautiful. And yeah, it's definitely a calling. It is a we're just constantly learning and growing, and it's such a process of sanctification. But yeah, I think it's something we've always wanted. I know I've always wanted, and just so blessed to look at our table full of children and just reflect on that daily. I'm thankful.
So leading into the topic, it's simply shepherding a child. Like, to y'all, what does that mean? Shepherding a child, y'all's family dynamic.
Yeah, I feel the need to say right at the beginning that that's really encouraging and affirming for you to say, hey, we want to have a conversation about parenting, and so we want to invite the Owens in, and that's just an evidence of God's grace in our lives, because I feel the need from the beginning. When Kaycee first said, hey, let's talk about parenting, they want us to come in, I'm thinking, like, what do I have to share about parenting? Who wants to listen to Kellen or Kaycee talk about parenting or something like that? But my prayer and being a part of a conversation like this would be that everyone would know that we mess up, that we are sinful, that our hearts get in the way, and our parenting as well, and that we're glad to talk and share of what God is doing and what He's taught us. And the prayer is that it doesn't come across as sounding like hypocrites, because we're to share something that maybe we're still working on these things ourselves. We're still learning. We're still making mistakes. So I know that wasn't your question, but it's just like I've felt a need from the beginning to just simply say thank you, and that's encouraging and affirming to feel like we might have something to share on it. And
disclaimer.
And the disclaimer is like and this is part of the Christian life, right? That we don't want to be paralyzed not to be able to share something.
Because we haven't figured it all out.
Because we haven't figured it all out, or we know that we are all growing and learning, and so that doesn't mean that we can't.
Well, and we don't have teenagers, like you were saying, Nicole, about like we still our oldest is 10, so we do feel like we're still just new in the journey.
Sure.
Still. But,
yeah. Yes, but that wasn't your question. As far as
Totally fun.
Shepherding a child. I think that we know this. The Bible is just so rich with imagery about shepherds and shepherding and sheep, and we have in Psalms where David is saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." God the Father is shepherding us. We have in the Gospel of John where Jesus is saying, "I am the good shepherd. My sheep know my voice." So the Bible teaches us that the Lord is our shepherd, that Jesus Christ is the good shepherd. So when we're saying, what does shepherding a child look like? That's where we're taking our cues. What does it look like? Well, what is the Lord doing? What has He done for us? How does Jesus lead us and guide us? How does He protect us? And so, the easy answer there is, from the beginning, why do we even say shepherding a child? And I think we owe a lot to, Paul David Tripp and Ted Tripp, given, kind of using that metaphor a lot. But what is shepherding a child? It's coming alongside, it's leading and guiding, it's protecting, it's creating boundaries, fences. Jump in, Kaycee.
Yeah. So, Catherine, when you first brought this topic to me, the reason it just was immediately like the Lord just felt was like, you should talk about this, is because when I was pregnant with Boaz, I'm sorry, that was right into the microphone.
Oh, you're the number one we probably said, and do not do that. I'm just kidding.
The number one rule.
It's okay.
The Lord gave me this verse that I just meditated on when I was pregnant. It's Isaiah 40:11. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lamb in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. And it's just a verse I've been meditating on for 2 years now, that as I am trying to lead my kids, God is shepherding me. He is leading me. And it's such an encouraging thing. Like Kellen said, we don't have this figured out, but I feel like the past few years has been such a journey of really allowing my parenting to help me listen to the Spirit more, trusting that God's leading me. And because every child is so unique, they are people, and they're made in God's image, and they're complex, and they have specific needs. Following the shepherding metaphor, I was thinking about the lambs that have been abandoned and have been left by the flock. God has called Kellen and I to adopt these children from hard places, and how do you care for a child that needs that sort of nurture? It's complex, and there's a lot of things about parenting. The Bible doesn't tell you everything, how to deal with every situation, how to discipline in every situation. But we have the Spirit, we have a helper, and God is our shepherd. And as we are seeking Him in each situation, He does guide us. And anyways, that's just been such a theme of my life the past 2 years since having Bo and having 4 kids. And Boaz has not been the easiest child. And yeah. So I think what is shepherding a child, like Helen said, it is being God's ambassador to our children.
We can't drop our mic, but my gosh, I wanted to drop the mic after y'all were talking. It just like, there's so many beautiful things that y'all both said, and so many nuggets, but I loved so much. Well, 2 things. Well, when you were talking about, it's funny when you say shepherding a child. So like I think in our minds we start thinking, okay, well, here comes A, B, and C. This is what we need to do. But like, you could not have hit the nail on the head more. Like, it's funny. I looked at the girls. I was like, we're just talking about something. Like, we were just talking about this at our church, Psalms 23, talking about the shepherd and everything. But like, it was like a light bulb, went off. It was just kind of like, well, how do we shepherd a kid? How does the Lord shepherd us? And it's like, that's exactly what you should be doing, following Christ, doing the exact same thing. Like, what a beautiful representation. I know it's not the right word. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for my grammar. Of like what we should be doing. It's because it's kind of like, my thought was like, what is step 1, step 2? But that was, and then what you were saying about just with the adoption of like the, getting those lambs, like, I want the ball since you said that, but like basically an encouragement. That was beautiful. Sorry. But yeah, I hope that was encouraging for anyone that's listening, because it's just like, once again, I don't think I've ever thought of it in that way. It's like, that's what the Lord does for us.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not do the same thing for our children? Like,
Mhm.
that's the best thing you should be doing. Not to say there's going to be mistakes along the way. Jesus, of course, don't make mistakes. We drag our feet and make things worse. And so, but I think that's incredible. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So, yeah. Um, with that, even with the shepherding of children, like, how is that molded even into, let's just break it down, like setting boundaries, or um, um, yeah, setting boundaries and stuff. Like, how have y'all done that, especially in today's world? How have y'all, made boundaries and all that kind of stuff? Um, how's that working out?
Yeah, I think that again, if we talk about how God is our shepherd, and how he knows what leads to the fullness of life, and he knows what's best for us. And so what that looks like then is him setting expectations and guidelines, and we have the law, and it shows us that we aren't, measuring up, and then we have rescue coming through Jesus. But he sets those boundaries for us and shows us where life is found, and he knows it's found in him. And so then that involves, when we push against that in rebellion, it involves discipline, and so correction. And this is the way the Bible shows us that and experientially we know how God loves us and how he shepherds us and shepherds our hearts. And so I think just on the face of it, parenting is a process of creating boundaries, is a process of looking for dangers, looking for pitfalls, and finding ways, building the correct fences and the correct training to hopefully avoid those, and to teach kids when they're young. Kaycee talks a lot with our kids about the circle of blessing, and so he even draws it on a piece of paper, and
I actually watercolored it.
she watercolored it. And,
Oh, I pull it out sometime.
and so the circle and the circle of blessing is when we're being obedient to the Lord, and what are kids called to do? They're called to be obedient to the parents. And so this is where life is found, and the imagery, I don't want to steal this from you, but it's got smiley faces in the circle
It's
of
very
blessing.
silly.
And it's got
on purpose.
who knows, ice cream, because we're going to bribe them.
Well,
Is that a
it's
healthy?
got a sunshine and a full heart.
Oh.
And then outside of the circle of blessing is a broken heart
Mhm.
and cake that's been fallen down, and a flower that's withered.
Popped balloons.
Yeah.
And we're able to, talk about how, what we want to do is to see them be in the circle of blessing. And it doesn't mean like, hey, we're going to make your life better if you correct your behavior.
Yeah, it's not a prosperity thing.
Right.
It's that truly, where is joy found? It's found in knowing God and obeying him. And our children will step off of that path. And because we love them, we want to put them back in the circle of back on the way of life, which is the Lord's following Jesus. And I was actually walking by my garden today. I have a few gardens, but one of my gardens specifically, it looks terrible. And I just thought, man, that garden needs a gardener. And I think thinking about like our culture, kind of what you said in today's age, like children need parents. And it is so common to just child-led everything, just let the child lead. And even though children are made in God's image and have this amazing, they have the opportunity for so much goodness. Like, we are broken. The world is broken and it is sinful. And children, just like a garden needs a gardener to train and to make it beautiful. My garden is not beautiful right now because I have not been diligent to be in there like I should. Children need parents to help train them. And I think, honestly, that's so simple, but it's really foundational. Like, it is, like Kellen was saying, fences are there to keep animals safe, and parents are there to put boundaries. And something I've learned that we went through with our adoption training is just talking about the role of authority. And when a child is born, grows up in an institute, they don't really understand the role of parents, and how teaching a child about authority and about what a parent is actually makes them feel safe. they can trust that they don't have to control. They're not in control. And that was a learning thing with both of our kids that we adopted at older ages of like, no, mom and dad are in charge because you don't have to be. And not some sort of power grab, but you're safe because we're in charge. And we like, that's God our Father, right? He's in charge. And that helps us feel safe.
How do y'all battle with the parent who says, well, I don't want to be too controlling. I feel like I'm just so controlling over them, and then they're gonna hate me later in life. Like, how can they decipher back and forth of what's being healthy, or are they being too controlling? Like, how do you
right?
figure
There
that out?
absolutely can be too much control. Yeah.
And
What'd you say?
and all things in life, if we're looking for a, uh, a guiding principle that makes it easy to pick A or B in that category, we're probably not going to get one. We know that with everything, that's another situation of the heart of the parent in that time, because I think there could be situations that look exactly similar on the face of it. Maybe we've got family A and family B, and it's the same exact boundary put up, fence, guideline, restriction. I don't know, no screens. And it could be the same thing, and where the heart of the parent is probably could be what's making that either a wise or not wise path. So we absolutely have. I started it with the disclaimer. We absolutely have the sinful desire to control them, and to think we can, first of all, which we can't. To own them like they're ours, when they're not. They're a gift of God. They belong to God. That's why I love Kaycee saying, we talk about shepherds and that metaphor, that imagery, but also that, metaphor of ambassadors, that they belong to the Lord, and we are His ambassadors to them, to bring the message and the methods and the grace of the King. And we're ambassadors for Him, and so in that way. Yeah, absolutely. There's a sinful desire to either think you control and then to try to think maybe I can manage behaviors by controlling. But are we ever going to be able to find that hard and fast? Well, that's just controlling behavior. And this is your making wise choices for your kids. It's not going to be necessarily on the act or the decision as much as the heart, but we feel it at times, lots of time, because you absolutely can, like you're breaking the spirit of a child, by just controlling and managing, and that's not necessarily in their best interest.
Yeah, and maybe controlling's not even the right word. Just creating an atmosphere of like boundaries. Because one of the follow-up questions to that was how do we trust our kids to make good decisions? And I think that involves risk. And I am a very wild and free mom when it comes to being outside. Like we homeschool. We do spend a lot of our day outside. I want my kids, and from young, since they were tiny, climbing trees, climbing waterfalls, climbing in the, like I want that because that teaches them how to make wise decisions, in nature. I mean, there's these studies that have been shown that kids that climb trees have more spatial awareness because they're learning the limitations of their own body in this really kinesthetic way. And nature is just, oh gosh, nature is a really good teacher, for our children. So it's like there's safe boundaries that I can put on my kids while at the same time allowing them to be persons, allowing them to experience risk and failing, which is really important too. So there's just this balance, and yeah, there's always these extremes we can go to in parenting. And it's usually, again, spirit-led of what this child needs in this moment. I think two of our kids could do the exact same thing, and our response could be different based on what the circumstances and where we know that they are as children. And that's, again, it's just so, God, we need you every moment of every
That's
every
right,
day.
because you could swing to the other side, and I don't want to be a controlling parent. I want my child to make choices, and there can be a lot of positive wisdom in that, and there can be weakness there too, which would be abdicating your responsibility to train your kids, and to raise them, and choosing not to be a parent because parenting's hard, and it's you know,
Well, and
not
you don't
always
wanna be the
fun.
bad
Or
guy,
you don't want
and
to be the bad guy.
yeah.
So, you know, in all these things, right? How do we know what is the path of wisdom? You know, we're relying on the
Mhm.
Spirit. You know.
Mhm.
I feel like y'all did a great job of just like leaning on the Lord in those moments. And so,
Mhm.
because, we try to play like the devil's advocate on there, like on the podcast of like that person would say something like, well, I try not to be controlling, but like, I don't know all these, and so kind of like resting in the Lord in those moments of like what to do. And so, and letting him, decipher that. Cause I feel like it can be very hard for
Mhm.
sure.
I
And
think
so,
I think young ages that practically
Mhm.
teaching kids good habits young, obedience
Yeah.
young,
Mhm.
teaching them how to pay attention young, teaching them how to tidy up after them. Just
Mhm.
these like things that will carry them the rest of their lives. Like
Yeah.
we'll say sometimes when there's just a sin issue and one of our kids were like, add 10 years to that.
Yeah.
Like not about nipping in the bud, but it's
Mhm.
being a student of your child.
Yeah.
Watching them and seeing, okay, what are patterns I see here that we really need to focus in on? And yeah.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Starting young, because
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm thinking about the person's like, they're a teenager, so and so. They're like, they make so many bad decisions. It's like,
Yeah.
what have you taught them growing
Yeah.
up? And
Yeah,
so,
because the habits of a child make a person.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
And we've learned that
Mhm.
like through just like there's been so much research on the brain, and there's pathways in the brain that you follow.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh well, I'm just gonna let it slip this one time.
Mm.
And this is my everyday life, guys, all day long.
Mm.
Shut the door. Shut the
Mhm.
door, 100 times. And until they get it.
Mhm.
And eventually they do. It just takes them time. And it's such important training. Again, like a rose, you have to train the rose. Like, if you just let it go, you're not going to get any blooms. And if you're not pruning, you're not going to get any blooms. Like, it needs a gardener. And so it's that sort of loving attention that children need. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I've seen this so much, especially nowadays. Like, I see where parents are just becoming their kids' best friends, and like they're just all friends, and everything's super fun, all that kind of stuff, which is cool. But like, where do you put the boundary of either being your children's friends and like I got to be the parent? Because I feel like they swing either one way, and so when they're just being the friend of their children, like discipline comes a lot harder. Everything comes so much harder. Um, you know, i.e. Gilmore Girls.
Let's bring it up a third time.
Yeah, it's the mother and daughter nation, too friendly. But like how? Because I mean, everybody, of course, you want to be your friends to your kids. Everybody would want that, and you want your kids to love you, and you're the best thing. You want those things. So like, how do you decipher the boundaries of being friends with your kids and being a parent, or should there be no friendship?
You know, I think at the heart of that question, and we've all dealt with that or seen that, in our lives at different places. That the heart of that is just my heart desire to please people, please man. So even my kids. So am I a people pleaser? Because I don't. Sometimes we want to kind of set up a little bit of a false dichotomy, or like it's either this or that, friend or parent. And of course, I hope that whatever is a godly quality of a godly friendship, I certainly hope to have that with my kids and to foster it as we grow. But I have something more special than just being their friend. I'm their father, and I'll always be their father no matter what. So yeah, we could say mothers have to make tough calls that maybe a friend wouldn't make. But even still, I think we all have godly friends in our lives, godly friends that desire to see us walk in the path of life, and that I would hope would not be friendly, quote unquote, to me if I was straying in sin. They're not my parent, but I hope that they would correct me, they would confront me, that they would point me to repentance, that they would put boundaries on, and so again, I'm not trying to say like our friends can be our parents, but I think that even we don't have to have this dichotomy. Godly friendship involves some of the same, things we're talking about, a way of treating someone that you always say as a parent. But to your question, I know exactly, we feel that too. It's about, am I willing to honor God with my life and the roles He's given me? Is that more important than pleasing man, even if it means my kids liking me, forever? And certainly, yeah, we hope we would stay true to our call to honor the Lord, and to be faithful to Him as parents,
Yeah.
even when it's unpopular to our
I
kids.
mean, I think our hope is we spend a lot of time with our kids. Like, we really prize time together as a family. There's quality time and quantity time, and I think we have both. We want a lot of quantity of time too. And Kellen is so good at playing with the kids. I think I'm really good at bringing the kids into my life. Like, they cook with me. We're together most of the day, and I hope the relationship we're forming is creating a foundation that they can confide in us and that we can have a relationship. We're building such sweet memories. I was just telling Kellen just about the books that the boys and that me and the boys are reading together, and we have gone on so many adventures to Narnia and to Hogwarts, and we're creating the relationship now that we hope carries on. But I'm their mother now. I don't care to be just their friend. I want to be their mother, and Kellen gets to be their father, and so that always comes first. But that doesn't mean that they're mutually exclusive. So
Well, like too, like you were saying, like certain books and stuff that y'all are reading, especially in today's world, I feel like really hard to get kids' attention. And so, like, how have y'all found, even with those things, that y'all connect with your kids, especially in today's world? What
Mhm.
things that y'all do for that?
yeah, and talking about just the extremes, like correction and connection are both so important. So I feel like earlier we were talking about the importance of boundaries and all these things, but we connect with our kids. We have so much time with them. So with me homeschooling with them, I let them into my life, and sometimes I just want to have a few moments to myself. And it's good. It's necessary for us to have time to ourselves and time away from the children. But how did they learn? But by watching us, by living with us. By Juby will tell people all the time, "Oh, my mom does it this way," because she watches me and she cooks with me, and that we read together and we play together. Kellen's so good at coming home from work and just spending time with the kids. We love to be outside together. So just making that a huge priority. Yeah. Do you
I
have
could get a little, kind of from my job in education soapbox. We have an epidemic of attention, the lack of ability to keep attention, or focus with young people. I'm not going to speculate here about why it is where we're getting there, but attention spans shortening, ability to focus, and we're seeing that in schools. And so some of it is just you were just talking about having their attention. Some of it is training them to be able to give attention early on. And so from a young age, training them to sit and read a book with you all the way through, and to training
I was
them.
very adamant about that.
Yeah. It
You
just
chose
showed
this
them.
book. We're gonna finish it.
That's right. I mean, it sounds kind of harsh. Oh, they're done with the book. They want to move on. But I think we're teaching them how to pay attention and how to focus. Of course, that means on the other end, limiting things that maybe are detrimental to our ability to focus. And so that's where the conversation that all families have to find where they land and the balance when it comes to screens and different forms of media that come in. And so every family gets there differently. But that's part of it. And then obviously as well comes the conversation of like, well, then the things that are fighting for their attention, also what are they putting into their minds? And so we take it very seriously that we are the gatekeepers of what will, come through their eyes, come through their ears. We can't control everything, and they're going to grow up, but we want to, as best we can, monitor that, ask questions,
And
listen to them.
we're their co-regulators. We're teaching them how to manage the things that we're learning about, and yeah, we just want to be able to have open conversations with them for them to learn things from us and not just from culture, and
I was say I like how you had said about being outside. That's how we grew up. I mean, I grew up where we didn't have smartphones and stuff like that.
and you
It's crazy
didn't
for me to
know,
say.
you didn't, it was
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I like
Yeah.
when you said about the tree thing. I was like, I climbed trees all the time growing up.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's great, and I'm not trying to like praise. I also a big fan of Chip and Joanna games, but like they don't do, and this is not saying against screens or anything like that. I think screens can be a good and healthy thing as well in certain settings, but they don't do TV at all. Like there's no screens. Like they're reading books or they're going outside and doing all those things. Like not even like them as parents. Like, well, we have our own TV and y'all don't do that. Like they don't do that at all. And so, which I think is cool. I think there's a lost art in going outside.
Absolutely.
Because let's see what the attention spans are, everything. Like your imagination. Like, I mean, I remember growing up, the games we would come up in our minds and like the hours we would spend playing those games. It's like, I feel like that's a lost art in so many ways.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because why use your imagination and figure out something to do when you can be entertained?
Correct.
And we talk to our kids about this because we do have very limited screen time at our home. And we tell them, like, it's not like we're just trying to be mean or keep you from these things. This is what it's doing to your people's brains. Like, it's not healthy. God has created this whole world. And I do think there can be truth and goodness and beauty that comes from the media. There absolutely can be. People are making beautiful art through TV stuff.
This podcast right now.
Yeah,
is
right.
a
Absolutely.
media.
Yes, it's a media. Right.
Kid friendly, guys.
But as children, if we struggle with it as adults, managing, how much more are they? And so, yeah, I do feel very, very passionately about there is so much that God has created in the world. Like, get children outside. Why be inside if you can't be outside? That's one of our quotes as a homeschool family. So,
Yeah, I think the intentionality behind everything, like, and sharing that with your kids is also helping to build that parent-friend relationship. When I was little, I was very much a why. Like, well, why is that your answer? But the generation I grew up in was very much
I
like,
told you so.
because I said so.
Yeah.
But I'm more of like a why. So ever since I was young, and I didn't always get the answers to my whys. Sometimes I did, but a lot of times I didn't. And I want to share that with my kids now of like, okay, let's think, and helping them think through these things. We limit sugar intake in our home, always have. And it's like, so when my kid is like, Mom, can I have a popsicle? Well, what other sugar have you had today? And she'll think through these things. And now I hear when she goes to Granny's house, and Granny's like,
Here's
I've got all these things, just wanting to make sure she has all the snacks that they might want or whatever. And now my oldest, she'll get one donut. I've had my sugar for the day. And she's good, And then when she has tested my boundary, it made her not feel well. And she was kind of sick to her stomach, kind of thing of like, okay, so in some ways allowing a little bit of a test inside of a safe parameter, of course, where you can trust me and, allowing the freedom, but also explaining the why and helping them think through all the things. But yeah, I was just having a conversation earlier this week about, screens and videos and all those kind of things. And I think Kirk even mentioned it recently, how like the average video they watch is like 15 seconds. And it's like next. And like just the commitment issues, right? You're
training our mind.
Right. And I'm just, it's like, we need to, yes, let's finish this book. We can do something that takes longer than 30 seconds, like just, we're going to be loyal and we're going to be committed and we're going to follow through. And there's just so much that you think like, ugh, I've had a long day. Yep. You can be on your iPad for 2 hours, 3 hours. And it's just like, that's just easier. I mean, I've been there. I'm saying, like I've done that, so, but just the constant intentionality, like just like with the Lord, there's a purpose for every single thing. And so just being intentional with your kids and having a purpose for all the things, not just being the no mom, not just being the yes mom, but like, I want to think through these things and there's consequences to this. And does this help us pursue Christ? Are we pursuing holiness? Or will this set us back, and just helping and thinking out loud with your kids, like, kind of pouring into them and helping them learn to think through a gospel lens.
Mhm.
But it sounds like that's what you guys are doing, and just and how you're shepherding. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the world is offering them happiness or like in this thing, like the marketing, like I want to show my kids that Jesus is so much better. That's our Hebrews, right?
yeah.
But he is like life with him is this adventure, and you're a part of a kingdom that is like it's so much bigger than just being entertained, and I just want my kids to see the beauty of Christ, and yeah, we do have to be intentional with that. Yeah.
I'm curious about how you guys spend time in the Word and prayer and things like that with your kiddos. Do you know Bible study as a family, or I know they're reading on their own and things like that at this point? But
Yeah, so that's kind of our rhythm. We do have, I really love rhythms.
Kaycee loves schedules and
Oh.
spreadsheets and charts and and there is a schedule somewhere at our house that every minute of the day is accounted for. Whether or not it happens that way, it's good that we kind of have.
I'm an
There's a
ideal.
fallback plan,
I'm an
right?
idealist. Okay, it never lives. We never live up to our schedule, but it is like I have routines in place. That's like because you have to be intentional. When do these things happen? Unless we, what is it, Kellen? If
You fail to plan, you plan to fail.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So first of all, Kellen and I prioritize us being together, praying together, and like just meeting to discuss. So every week, Kellen and I do on Sunday nights, we get together and we just talk about our week and schedule our week. We call it our Navigators Council. And we talk about the kids and things we need, both have, being a student of your children, what we've both noticed, what we need to work on. So I think before any sort of, the parents have to be on the same page, and I think that's so important. And the kids can rule the house by pitting mom and dad against each other. And it's just so important. And I think us prioritizing that has really been helpful. And that's actually something we started before we even had kids. But we do family worship Sunday nights. And we used to try to do like an everyday thing. And it's hard, it's hard to sit down every single day, and because Kellen goes to work early, and so as with homeschooling, we do Bible every day, but as a full family, we have our family gathering Sunday nights, and then Monday nights we have a discipleship night, which is where one of us meet with one of the kids, and with really intentional discipleship time. So whether it's something that I don't know what Kellen does with the boys, but Juby and I, we just choose a topic, or they have those really hard questions and they just want the attention and time to really go through them.
I say that time is an opportunity to ask them questions, and then with the intention of then going to the Bible and saying, what does the Bible say about that thing? So, what do you think faith is? What does it mean to have faith? And then, well, let's see what the book of Hebrews says about faith. And so just kind of exploring with them. Because we're also constantly praying for them to, follow Christ, for God to melt their hearts of stone and give them hearts of flesh. And so it's also just kind of checking fruit with them there. And here's what we're seeing and how are things going. So
yeah, that's kind of our intentional routines. And then we have like where we do try to just take the kids out one-on-one, just to hang out with them. But just that one-on-one time where they feel the freedom to ask hard questions, and for us to dive deeper into certain topics with them. But yeah.
I noticed one time, because we can go into seasons of busyness just as a family, like having these people over for dinner. We've got community group on this night. We're recording the podcast on that night. All the things, and sometimes people don't leave your house until 10 o'clock at night. And it's like go to bed. Hurry up, we gotta go. But it just hit me like a ton of bricks one day where I think my oldest wasn't reading yet, and it was like, if I don't read God's word to them, they're not getting it. It's almost like I'm holding it hostage of like, you can't have the words of life today, because I just don't feel like viewing this, or I don't have the time. And it's like, whoa, that felt so heavy on me, of like making sure that we're helping them pursue God every day and giving them God's word, super, super important. So, I mean, we definitely go through seasons of busyness where it's like, ugh, we haven't had time. But when we're in those good rhythms of doing that, you can see the fruit in them, and they just their interest grows and stuff. And it's just really sweet time. But
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, God's word, it will not return void. When we're just reading it to them, I'm like, because we go for our school, we're like reading straight through Genesis for this next term, and like there's some heavy stuff in Genesis, and we're gonna read the whole thing. And even as I'm planning this, I'm like, maybe I should find a gospel, But then it's like, no, like they'll take. It's amazing what children can actually take in, and the Lord will use it. And so we have to just be faithful to put it before them.
I'm curious too, even going through those rhythms and just generally being parents. How is both those two things? How has that affected y'all your personal Christian walk? Like how has that grown y'all? Like I said, being a parent and then also now implementing these rhythms outside of them. How has that grown y'all?
Yeah, well, I mean, being a parent is sanctifying work. It exposes sin that you didn't know you had, and so that's good. It's tough.
I thought I was
work.
a really nice, patient person before I had children.
Yes, just kind.
Before I got married and brought children.
So just being a parent in general, we see the messy places in our own lives, and in each other, and but then you're talking about the rhythms. It's nothing but good, right? I mean, you're in the Word. You're some have said you don't really understand something until you can communicate it to a child. So just the beautiful, healthy challenge of trying to communicate truth, biblical truth, to a child. It's good. It's good for us.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think the thing I've learned so much about being a mom is that, like, as our family grows, it is just a death to self. Like it is just like I'm an introvert, so I like my own time and I like my hobbies. I'm so interested in so many things. And now it's like they want to do everything, all of it with me, and it's so sweet and I love it so much. And as I get starting to make something at the kitchen, I just hear the chairs moving to join me, and sometimes I just want to do it. And sometimes it is okay to have boundaries. And that's where healthy rhythms come into place. Each kid has a day to help me in the kitchen, and they're with me all day. But ultimately, it is just a death to myself. And, Jesus tells us that a seed must fall to the ground and die to produce new life. And so I think that's just the thing I've learned since being a mom, especially the more kids, like in order to find new life, you must lay your life down. And I'm literally forced to do that every day. And again, I want to resist it. I just want to push back and just give me my own thing. And it's just surrender to it. Just surrender to laying yourself down. And by God's grace, I feel like He is strengthening that muscle. And it is a muscle. Like it's something we have to learn. Just like I've seen that now I can cook a meal for 6 people, whereas 5 years ago, I was like, oh my God, it's a muscle that's grown as God has grown my capacity. He's also given me the grace to say no to myself and say yes to receiving these children. And isn't that what Jesus did? Let the children come to me. He loved children. He esteemed them. And they have so much, they're little God's little image bearers, and what they can bring to the world and bring to us is just so amazing. I mean, even just Boaz, just following him around, and he's just in awe of the world. It's just amazing. This leaf is amazing. Like it is amazing, and yeah, I have so much to learn. I am just I'm just learning so much from being a mom, and definitely just feeling sanctified every day.
And one of my favorite things learning about God as a parent has been that, like, sometimes, we get in our sin and we're like, oh, we can't go to God. Like, I'm ashamed, or this is heavy. I'm not still mad at my kid for what she did last week.
Mm.
I've about forgotten it. Like, I'm sure I got onto them for arguing last week and had to help them through this whole thing. I don't even remember the details of that. Like, it's gone. I forgive you and I love you. And that is God with us.
Mm.
And just the actual picture of like, oh, God sees me the way that I see my kids, and how fascinated I am by like, oh, I care about your personal desires. I care about your personality, and I love spending time with you. And like, oh, you want to talk to me? Come sit, talk to me. Like, that is God to us. And so being able to kind of see that and remind myself how much he cares, and that how much he forgives, how much he loves. It's a beautiful picture just all the way around. And then, like, that we'll become like a child, and like, oh, I am fascinated by everything that the Lord does. It's all intentional. It's all so fun. So it's very eye-opening. And
I think it's cool too, just like what a gift that God has given parents, that, like, faith comes from hearing the good news, and that y'all get to be on the front lines to speak the gospel to your kids, and they get to hear that, and the heart get regenerated and all that fun stuff. But like, what a beautiful blessing that God has given parents, that y'all get to be the first one to give that opportunity. And so, and setting those rhythms, doing those things, giving those, whether it happens when they're 5 or 10 or whatever, whenever God's timing, but y'all get to plant those seeds and y'all get to create those rhythms. Like, what a beautiful gift that God has given parents.
Yeah, and to learn to depend on him for the fruit.
Yeah.
That we can't, like Kellen said earlier, like we're just ambassadors, so there is a surrender and trust that ultimately they're God's, and we can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
But like, we have the freedom to fail. John Piper says this: because we have the freedom to fail, it gives us the power to fight. And I just feel so called to love them and care for them. Not because I can control the outcome, but because by God's grace, like, he's in charge, like, not me. The pressure is off of me. I just am called to be faithful. So we are called to be faithful.
Well, I mean, my goodness, nuggets galore. I'm like, there's so much beauty in a lot of things y'all said.
And I feel like we could talk about this forever.
Oh my
And we could
gosh,
go
yeah.
so many different directions. I think that's why
Yes.
I was kind of overwhelmed. I'm like, oh, how
Yeah.
long
How
do
do
we
we narrow this
have?
down?
Yeah.
Do we have a few days?
Right? Oh man. But I think y'all did such a beautiful job, and I mean, it once again could not confirm that y'all are the right people to talk to when it comes to. I mean, there's tons of people that are we can justify and stuff, but clearly God presented y'all for a reason, and so I think a lot of things that y'all say will be such a blessing to so many people, and so thank y'all so much for being open and willing to share all of that.
Sure.
So.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank y'all so much for listening. As we say with every podcast, this is not the main tool; it's a tool that we hope that can help you. If you have any prayer requests or in need, or like, hey, I'm overwhelmed, figuring out my children, we need help. Like, we have many resources, many people we can get you connected with within our church and even outside. And so please reach out. Quick, what is our email?
Be still and grow podcast at gmail.com.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. No, I was kidding. That's right. That's good. Going back to the questions. But yes, so please email us. There's even on all of our platforms, there's so many ways to reach out to us. Please do that. With that, as always, we love you guys. Kaycee, can you please pray us out?
Sure. Father, thank you for being our good shepherd, that you are so gentle and loving and kind to us. And God, thank you for being with us as you have called us to parent children, to care for children, Lord. Even those that aren't parents of specific children, Lord, you have called us all to shepherd the children of this generation and to love them well and to teach them about you. Help us to just have eyes that are open to see you, God, and to point and to show children, look at the beauty of God. Help us all, Father, to just see your beauty and in your story, and the salvation that's found in Jesus, and to just live lives in worship for you, that others will see our good works and will glorify you as well. Thank you for this time just to process and to talk through, and how processing with sisters and brothers in Christ, just how that helps to fortify the truth in our hearts and to sharpen one another. So we just thank you for this time, God, and we just ask that we could just help us to listen to your Spirit, and as we are leading these children and seeking to shepherd them well, God, that we can trust that you are shepherding us. And we thank you and pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks for listening. Please email us at bestillandgrowpodcast@gmail.com with your questions, comments, ideas, and prayer requests.
For more content from Gospel Community Church, check out the Training Day podcast, hosted by George Jones
This is Catherine.
Heather.
and Nicole.
Join us next time. We'll save you a seat. Till then,
Be still and grow.